Hey everybody, my name is Schey, and the holidays are here, so I got to put my hat on. And we're celebrating by visiting artist David Ruth out in California. It's so great to have David join us for it'll probably be the season finale until we start next year's Habitat Zooms. We're continuing with the Zooms, which are a lot of fun. We're going to be participating with more AACG over the next months because we're going to be down in Sarasota and they're going to be with us. So you're going to see a lot of me, and I hope you have a chance to come visit me down in Sarasota at the Glass Coast weekend, but I'll go into that in a second. So let's go and take over your screen real quick and go through a little bit of what's going on. So we continue the Zoom, so I'm honored to have you join me, and we share these on YouTube. So if you're watching on that platform, like, subscribe, hit that bell, and share them because we need everybody to know about the glass art world and what we know and love. The 38th Masterworks auction is online. If you've had a chance to see it yet, it went up yesterday. It's on our Masterworks platform, so take a look. There's 69 pieces up for auction. Take a look and contact me with your questions or bids. Great collection of work, so I think you're going to be really interested in that. The trip that Ferd and Kathy and Sue and Al Weiner have planned through Europe, going from port to port, visiting artist studios and institutions and museums, is filling up. If you haven't been on one of these, contact me to sign up now. And then I was talking about our Glass Coast weekend. We're down in Florida. People are real excited. I kind of consider it the new sofa because we're all going to be down there in Sarasota visiting with each other, the artists, the Ringling College, the Ringling Museum, the Imagine Museum, the Chihuly Museum, the Dali Museum, and then seeing four exhibitions, 2 installations, the Barbara Bash. There's so much going on. And an auction. Gugelsberg Baldwin will be down there. We're going to be celebrating Richard and Barbara Bash. This is at the first ever fireworks soiree, and she'll be giving a talk. So it's going to be an incredible time. Plan on being there. Here's a little more details of the show. John Kiley doing a demo. I've never seen him do it in person, so it'll be great to see that. And some experience as well, including the shoes by Dory Sellers. If you haven't been in the gallery lately, we're actually closed over the holiday by appointment only. So if you want to go see the Susan Taylor Glasgow show, give me a call and I'll meet you there, or Corey will, or Debbie, and the whole gallery is still set up till the end of the year. And now, with all that aside, I'm here to honor and welcome David Ruth, so we can get a glimpse into his career and his life. And he's been at this for a while. It's a true honor, David, to have you join me. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and give you a chance to say hello.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Aaron and Habatat, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. We have a glorious day in California at the moment. A little chilly, but a bright, sunny day. And the heat hasn't penetrated my studio yet, but the light is coming in. So we'll take you around and show you what I'm doing. I've been in this studio for a little over 20 years, and then I had another one across the street for a few years before that. So I've been in East Oakland for a long time. I lived in France briefly before that, and I went to college in Santa Cruz, where I met Steve Lynn, who was the sculpture studio technician. It's hard to believe that we've been following each other around for so long, but it's a pleasure to have you here today.
Pleasure to be here. And that you're still doing it.
Yeah, it's I can't stop for some reason. I just keep getting drawn back, and I'll show you why. I've got one kiln is on today, and we'll be able to at least look in there. I'm melting some things into a piece. So what I'd like to do actually is after this sort of brief introduction is to give you a little video that we made about a big project that I completed about 3 or 4 years ago, and then a PowerPoint on my key pieces, and then go into walking around the studio. So should we just do that? Basically, what I've been doing over the past few years is these geologic pieces. I went to Antarctica on a National Science Foundation grant in 2006, and I came back with a bunch of molds of ice and rock. And I've been compositing those together into sculptures and then into windows. So the first things I did were kind of 3-dimensional blocks. They were high relief panels. And then I got a job in 2015 in Colorado to do a huge window over 20 by 20 feet, 7 by 7 meters, for a window in a house. And it was 30 panels, and those panels have continued to haunt all my work over here, and you'll see them in a few different forms and some modifications as well. Let's see, I can show you this. This thing is here. So that's a picture of the, it's a Photoshop composite of the Colorado Cascade. And there's actually a floor in here. So this part's in the master bathroom, and then the lower part is in a passageway down below. It's kind of a weird spot, but you know, you definitely get to see it from a few different angles, which is nice. So the video is basically about the creation of that. So Tori, should we start that?
Okay.
All right, share screen. And
This
then
guy. Why
why isn't it there?
it's doing, sorry guys.
Okay, we have your screen. We're in
I
now.
know.
Yeah, it's here
not-
somewhere.
Here we go. Maybe I have to, oh, there we go. I just have to open it. There we go. Sorry,
All right,
guys.
start. Now can we go full screen? Yeah, okay.
I've been interested in this geological connection for a long time, and it was a kind of a side light, a side interest. There is this dichotomy between my love of nature and being in the environment and wanting to participate in a dialogue, especially in this time of climate change and ecological disaster, this man-made material, which has to be used preciously and sparingly because it does, after all, use a lot of energy, and how to use that as an expressive medium so that we can record some of the things that we see, like the icebergs, or transmit the fragility of how our environment is playing out in our contemporary life. Textures that I found in nature, you know, they have such organic, intense shapes and forms and convolutions. And to be able to capture that in glass was a dream that I had. This piece is called Kaoka. It was the first of the kind of geological series, which led me to this Colorado Cascade project. Now suddenly I've been wired to getting these rock patterns into the mold material. That was about 20 years ago. In 2006, I got to go to Antarctica. I took an assistant and we took molds, very serious molds off the glacier ice and stone. After being there and coming back, I was really determined to make that the primary thrust of my work. I've been looking for an opportunity to expand this and do this textural work for a long time. These clients found me on the internet and saw a couple of pieces of my work that they had the vision for a much bigger project. This is a layout of the piece on the floor, got up in the tower, way up in the top of the studio, and photographed it. Since this was photographed, we changed a couple of things. There's an ice area in here, and that ice dribbles down into here. And then this whole zone over here is the avalanche. David Condon, who's an expert mold maker, he and I figured out the different steps that we had to go to and the different products that we needed in order to do those steps. Color is one design element. We can make many, many colors, any color. I think that the more interesting color you have, the more it calls attention to the virtuosity, but also the expressive possibilities within an environment of the different works. I've been thinking about blues and wanting my sculpture and everything to be this blue and to kind of suggest this coldness and this ice. But here's this house that these people want this project for, which is in the middle of Vail, Colorado. The whole environment, the earth there is shades of brown and earthy tones. When you look at this piece of glass, you get so much more information than I can ever impart to you. The feeling is in there, the work and the fun we had playing God by rearranging the rocks. You know, it's all in here and you can see it. Pretty hard to separate my feelings about it from who I am at this point because I've been with it so long. It has provided me with artistic expression throughout my career as an artist, and I've never lost interest, even though the interest has evolved. I've become glass in a way, you know, I'm made out of it on some level.
Okay. So now what I'm going to try and do is run this PowerPoint and Oh, we need to start at the beginning.
There we
Yep, we-
go. Here we go.
That's the last slide, isn't it?
It is.
Go. First slide.
There it is. Okay. Here's a picture of the outside of my building shortly after I planted these trees.
Let's make the slideshow full screen if you don't mind.
Okay. Yep. Sorry about that.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. There we go.
Great.
Great. So this is a picture of it a few years ago. I'm still trying to work on those doors, but let's see. How do we advance here? Oh, this button. Here we go. All right. So this is a picture of the inside of the studio also a few years ago when I was right in the midst of this project with Pyrex glass. So these pieces were getting so big that I wanted to put them outside. And I had a friend come here and help me melt Pyrex and also figure out how to fuse it and work with it. It's a really great glass. This particular one is got about 1/3 the expansion of the art glasses that we use. And then it means you can put it outside. You can do anything with it. You can hit it with a lot of sun and weather and variation, and it's perfectly stable. So for a while I was making these pieces, and some of these, like the one in the back there, is 10 feet tall. It's about the limit of the size of the kiln that I have over here. This was some very early work that I did in graduate school. So you can sort of see that I started doing some fusing with Boyce Lundstrom of Bullseye Glass. And then I took off and started making sculptural forms. After graduate school and after living in France, I came back to Oakland because I found a beautiful space, not this one, but another one across the street. And I started making pieces like this. They were huge even for the era. They annealed for a long time and they were complicated. I sold a few of them, but mostly I have existed making projects all these years. So the sculpture has been something I'm very interested in. It's kind of like the highlight of my career, the maximum accomplishment of things that intellectually that I can create. And it gives me a way to explore ideas that sometimes go into the projects. This is Pura Gede. It's actually here in the studio. It was part of a series of pieces that were standing stones. I had a friend who was stainless steel fabricator, and so he water jet cut these stands for me, and then we put these stones on there. They're big heavy pieces of glass, like 400 pounds, and I have all my color is embedded on the inside. So the idea with this was that there's a kind of internal story inside the glass. So all this color emerges as a pattern, which then gives you a feeling about an abstract story or kind of aspect of my own mind. I like to say that the internal space of the glass is a metaphor for the internal life of the human. So that was my motivating mantra during that. So this piece on the left is in the studio. It's one of the last remaining pieces of this Pyrex era. It's Megalti. We managed to find some red Pyrex that North Star Glass had melted. He found a way to actually incorporate cadmium into this very high melting glass, and we were able to melt it and swirl it into these pieces. Sample-on is in the center. It's also here today, and I can show you in a little bit. These were some of the pieces that we did with the Pyrex. They're polished on both sides, fused and polished. The interesting thing about this glass, and it was somewhat troublesome, was that as it fuses, the layers between the pieces give you a white veil. So where you can see through it, it was all one piece, and where it's white was a junction between the pieces. So on the outside, they come out of the kiln all white, and when we polished it off, you can then see into it. Let's see, push that. At some point in the middle of all of this, I did a series based on the tragedy in Darfur in Sudan, and Habatat has this piece right now. This is Barangil, and there's a series of them. They're all kind of foggy and interior like this. And then this is Holonga. This is in some ways the high point of this internal life with the bubbles and the lines. Early on, I got into this kind of through stained glass and through making stained glass things, and I really wanted to break the bonds of those lead lines. But then I discovered these black internal lines that I could put in the glass, And I've used them ever since as a kind of calligraphic effect. And I love the idea of black glass. It's kind of like anti-glass. I studied with a French guy, Roger Dari Carrera, in LA, who he had a studio that made stained glass and mostly dalle de verre. He came from France after World War II and started melting glass in his studio in LA in 1954, 10 years before Harvey Littleton, and made glass for his own windows. And I had a chance to take a workshop with him and then hang out in his studio for a summer. And so he was really into black glass, and he told me that it's the negative, it's the antithesis of glass. It makes a great contrast. This was a project that I did in Portland, cloud dreaming. It's like 14 feet tall, in 3 panels hanging on the wall there. And then I had a bunch of studies from that, which are here also at the moment, Cloud Study 5 and Cloud Study 6. So these are about 2 inches thick almost, and I don't know, they're 2.5 by 3.5 feet in size, in stainless steel stands. So then I got a chance to go to Antarctica. You saw a few little snippets of it in the video. This was just amazing. Every day I pinched myself that I was here. In my studio over here, there's the train runs about a few hundred yards down the road. And, you know, it goes by and I see this train. And then over in Antarctica, it was 200 or 300 yards away was this glacier. And I got to see that. And it was like, I'll trade the glacier any day for those trains. And this thing changed every day. These pieces tumble off, the face of it changes. Apparently now more and more rock is being revealed underneath, and the environment there in the north part of Antarctica is rapidly changing because of ice loss. But I was able to go along shore and fish out these pieces, and then I just took a wood saw down there and sawed off the bottom so I could stand them up. A few of them we took into the studio and we molded. The last few days that I was there, I still had like 4 gallons of silicone mold material left. So I poured it on the rocks outside the station, and amazingly, it just pulled off. It pulled out of the crevices and gave me this beautiful pattern, which I'm still using. I'll show you in the studio a little bit later the results of this particular casting right here. I kind of discovered that in many ways, the ice only looks like 1 or 2 or 3 things. You know, it has a few different patterns that it produced in Antarctica. Now, I'm a California boy, and I don't have much experience with ice and snow and that kind of thing. But when I went there, we saw this ice, and I did a lot of molds off of pieces of that. But then I discovered that the rock really is much more expressive and much more varied. And if you color it right, and if you use it right, it also looks like ice. So it became a process of re-icifying the world, you know, to try and get away from this warming trend that we are, to try and see if we can put things back, or to imagine things put back. So the rock becomes the ice. It was kind of ironic, but they gave us a freezer container to work in, and that allowed me to set up pieces of ice and photograph them, which is what this was in the process of. And then they had a little bench test kiln in the laboratory, and I used it to fuse a small piece, which I left there. It's part of the National Science Foundation collection, living in Antarctica at this very moment. Then when I came home, I made this piece Norcel, which uses the rock texture in the middle and then some of the ice textures on the edges. And then, oh, here's the Colorado Cascade. We didn't put Gamage in here. Gamage is in the studio as well, and it is the same era, and I'll show it to you later. So this piece, the very center at the top, has the ice texture. There's ice texture in there, and then there's a big arrowhead coming down of Antarctica rock. And then almost all the rest of it is local textures. So up here in the hills of California, Northern California, is this Monterey Formation, which is made out of chert, which is a rock which formed at the rate of about 10,000 years per inch, apparently, on the sea floor. It's diatoms died and left their shells on the bottom, and then over millennia, they're compacted, And then with plate tectonics, it gets forced up into the hills. And so these rocks are thrust up into the hills. They're not terribly old, but they're very beautiful because when they run cuts through them, or if it cuts naturally, it leaves a kind of a prismatic surface with these little prism shapes on the top, natural prisms. And one day I was driving by it and slammed on the brakes and jumped out and said, oh my God, this has got to be made into glass. And it took a few years, but I've been using the chert extensively. It turns out that in between the chert layers, there's shale. And that's another story. I'll go into it in the other room when we get there. So this was the layout of that Colorado job before we cut it up into panels. You can see we're just starting to. And then we made the glass. It's a nickel cobalt charcoal brown color. And then here are some of the panels laid out in the studio. There's one on the mold, and there's some just sitting on the carts. One of
It'll
these
make a beautiful coffee table or a dining room table too, by the way.
Yeah, and we
gorgeous.
have done a little bit of that, not so much with this particular texture, but with some others. I'd love to do one. If we found let's find a client for it. I like projects like that. We can make them big too. So interestingly, these pieces all went to Germany to be laminated to thermopaint. And they had that border on them so they could be snapped into a storefront window system, which made them fairly easy to install. They had this giant crane and they put them on suction cups and then just dropped them into place and then locked them in. But I had the clients come one day, so I set them all up here in the studio. This is outside of the house, and you can kind of see the window up in the top there. It takes up all those panels, but you see it sharing with the reflection there. And then this is downstairs where you walk by it. So it's very dynamic when you walk by it because the relief sticks out about 3 inches or I don't know, 6 centimeters, something like that.
Were these
And
originally just windows that were there? Or what was
well,
there?
they constructed this house. And so, yeah, I mean, they had actually for about a year or two, they had it just glazed with regular glass, and then they put in these. But these were designed for this spot. This is what it was supposed to go there. It's interesting that it's not in a public part of the house, but you would see it if you were a guest there. But
Gotcha.
It's not really in the living room or anything like that. And then here it is upstairs, the upper triangle. You'll see it in the next shot. It's the ice, and then the Antarctica stone, and then the layered rock is the chert from the hills here. And this round thing over on the right is actually shale. So here's the ice. So this was patterns of ice from Antarctica. And then on the very far left is the rock from Antarctica. So that project led me into so we were going gangbusters. So we made 12 patterns that became the Geologic Editions. And they're basically panel sculptures. There's 12 of them, and we did a series of colors based on the Colorado Cascade using nickel and cobalt and copper and cobalt. So there's clear ones, but then there's the brown, the steel blue, which is the nickel and cobalt leaning towards the cobalt. And then you can see the turquoise in the background there is the copper and cobalt. Oh, and there's a gray one in front of the copper. That's when you balance the colorants exactly together, they make gray. Copper and cobalt and nickel balanced in the glass formula will give you gray, a balanced gray, neutral gray. So here I am on a rare time of polishing one of these. We have this big polishing machine. You can't see it there, but that's how we make the backs flat. And then here are a few of the Geologic Editions, number 3, number 6, and number 10. Let's see, none of these are in the other room, but you'll see some of the others. So I got this idea to build this kiln that was a vertical unit. And in here right now in this picture is Salote, which is a piece that I had started before I went to Antarctica and then finished later. It was from a slip of wood that I found in the forest up in the hills behind here. And then we molded it and added to it. There's the wax mold on the mold for the wax on the right and the actual wax on the left. And here's the piece after it got fused the first time. I've made 2 versions of this now. It was a transparent blue glass when I made it, but it devitrified in the mold and opacified. So it actually turned much more ice-like than it would have been in the beginning, although I still want to see it transparent. Here's some of those molds. We repurposed them and repatterned some of them to make a public art project that's right around the corner from my studio here in East Oakland. So there you see the plaster molds that we cast the glass on, and one of the glass castings with a flange on there that we then put in this project. So this is a rainbow bridge. It's neither a rainbow nor a bridge, but I called it that partly because we have this rainbow multicultural neighborhood and the Rainbow Recreation Center right across the street. And then also because the development company for this is Bridge Development. But these people bought this toxic General Electric site behind my studio, and they've built a 500,000 square foot warehouse there. So that's 50,000 square meters. It's absolutely enormous. And it's sitting there vacant because they didn't think about that part, I guess. But they commissioned me to do this public art project as part of Oakland's 1% for the Arts program. And then here are 2 outtakes of that. You'll see them in there, the ones right outside the back door and the others in the other part of the studio. And so we'll see those in a moment. And then here is what those trees grew up to last summer. And now this winter, I'm going to prune them a little bit because they're starting to lean on the wires, but there's my studio in the summer. All right, thank you. Let's move on to walking around the studio. Anybody have any questions from that? Okay, you got it, Tori?
Hold on.
We have to get out of this.
I'm going to unpin this
Okay.
screen.
And thank you. Pin the other
And
one.
then you have the other screen, which is I see over here. I'm going to pin that one. And you can log off
Where
the
am
other
I?
one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, so leave. Let's leave this. All right.
And some incredible work. You're a very talented artist, my friend. Thank you for joining us. I'm looking forward to this tour. All right, we don't have any audio. Can you hear me at all? We don't hear.
Oh, there we
you
go.
at all. There you go. Go ahead.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yep, we
Great.
can.
So these are some pieces that I'm working on right now. These are fragments, tests, studies for the geologic pieces that I've been doing. I call these the geologic series. This one was actually a kind of a mistaken, actually there's 2 mistakes here. This one, something happened in the mold and it stuck a little bit for a geologic edition number 3. And so I tried patinaing the surface, and I'm trying to develop a patina on the surface. This one, I cast it backwards for some reason. I don't know why. These 2 are made with bullseye glass, so they're super clear. And on many of these geologic series pieces, we're polishing the edges so you can see into it. And it makes some interesting reflections and things that you don't have otherwise. Tori, can you just walk around the back? Just go around the back of this a little bit. We can do this in the other room too. This one's called Rag. These pieces that are not geologic editions, I've been naming after California creeks and land features here. So we have some great names out here, as everywhere. But this one is called Rag. Let's see, Rutan, Zim Zim, Galindo. All right. So let's walk over here.
Beautiful space you have.
Thank you. So this is a Photoshop composite of the Colorado Cascade windows. We basically lifted them up into different parts of the studio so we could actually see it from below. So that's why we get the 3-dimensional quality in here. And so this part up here is the ice from Antarctica. And there's a little more ice over here. And then this was that rock that you saw me molding in that picture. And it's just folded every which way and pieces of it to make that. And then this is all the chert from the hills up here with this part being a heavy shale zone, there was a big vein of shale in there. And so we molded that, and that's there. And then here, this part's the avalanche. And I just took a bunch of random stuff like concrete from when we dug up the backyard and pieces of asphalt. And there's amethyst, and Mickey Mouse was buried in there, and a whole bunch of stuff. And that's kind of my joke on these people, because they're very wealthy ski bums. And they built this house as a ski chalet for themselves. And it's, you know, Vail is this crazy place where it's down in this valley at 9,000 feet. And then the mountain goes up to 14,000 behind them. And then that's where they go skiing, and they ski down into it. I suppose there's always the potential for avalanche, but I put it in here anyway. So these were the cloud study pieces. I won't say too much about them, but they were an attempt to get the embedded color in here. I used about 5 different whites from Bullseye and Ouroboros at the time. Let's see, I was going to open one of these, wasn't I? Here, let's look in this one over here. This is my giant kiln.
Giant kilns. Look at that, everybody. That is some serious casting of space. See the scale he works at.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well, it's empty now. I'm sorry that it is. It's always such a waste when they sit here cold. All right, let's walk over here. This is sample one. So this is another one of my tall pieces with the color embedded on the inside. I love this purple. It's a gold purple that I get from Bullseye, and I swirl it into this lens glass that I use for my glass body. The bubbles are really shining beautifully right now here. Can you see that in that picture?
Yeah, it is a beautiful. You can see all the tones and color you're talking about, and the shine.
So this piece over here is Magalpi. It's one of the last Pyrex pieces that I actually have still. But we swirled this red in here, and it's polished, and then my friend made this beautiful stainless steel base for it. So in 2000 and 2001, I got a big job at Tokyo Disney Sea in Japan. And I made 22 panels, most of which were this size. This was an outtake from that project, of kind of a study, panel number 9. And so we built all this sea imagery in there. The job was, they told me I could, for the fish, they had to have no eyes or fins, only abstract fish. Oh, here, here's my cat. This is Rascal. So I had a bunch of assistants, and everybody got to make their own thing. So I had one woman who made the jellyfish over there, and then I made the barnacles, and somebody else made the starfish. And we all got to put our things in here and have a kind of a group fun fest. The thing was 100 feet long with 22 panels. And it's in a restaurant in Tokyo Disney Sea. It's still there. It was a great project. It was really fun. We had the whole studio loaded up with panels and parts and everything. So these are some of the molds that I use for my pieces, for my rock. So this is from about 2 years ago. I went to Kona, Hawaii. A friend of mine said, David, you got to take molds off this lava. And so this is a mold from Hawaii right here. It's latex and it's deteriorating. So what I have done with these is I've cast them in, actually that one is right here. Cast them in plaster. And if I want to have a permanent record of this, I have it in the plaster, and I can go back and mold it in silicone, which is much more permanent. This is the mold for Geologic Edition number 3. We just sold one of those, so I'm going to make some more. This here is a piece of Antarctic ice. I'm sorry it's so dirty, but this was a plaster cast of Antarctic ice that I made one kind of silicone mold from, and then from that deteriorated, so I cast this silicone from one of these plasters. So now I have a permanent piece of Antarctic ice. And here's more Antarctic ice here and then more below. And then I've been using these pieces in some of that work over there. Hey. This is Piragede. I felt like these sculptures were some of the best that I did. I showed them at Traver in the 2000s. There were 5 of these series, and then there are a couple more that I didn't get stands for, so they're just sitting in the back. But these are inch-thick stainless steel pieces bolted together, and then carefully put the pieces on there and lock them in. So there's all this color in here, and a lot of this was poured from crucibles. So I was able to stick like whites down into the blue, and then when it pours out, it's got little streaks of white in there. So if there's light coming in from behind, these things will illuminate with an ever so slight opacity that they have. The purples are made with gold, and the gold also, as does the cadmium, they do their own kind of opacification. And then that helps bring the light in there, centers the light inside the glass. My whole idea of these is to avoid the optics that you sometimes get with glass, but rather to draw your attention inside into the bubbles and the spaces and the little parts of this, so that you could be in there, be in that world. Lyra. So this one is with the red and the black.
Very
and then
dramatic.
this one here is Holonga. I should have turned on the light. It didn't. It's in a weird place right now. We were carrying it around the studio the other day, and suddenly it went in front of the door, and all the bubbles lit up. And I wish that when it was sitting here, the bubbles would light up. So the way I make these pieces is to have a pool of molten glass, a furnace of molten glass, and I'll throw in chips of glass color, mostly stained glass from Bullseye, and then melt it for just a second, and then pour it out into these, what I call trails. I trail them out on the table. And then these are stacked up in the kiln in a big pile, and with lots of clear glass around it and lots of other little colors and things. And then it's all fused together and then cut and polished so that you basically reveal that interior space. So I have a lot of these left over from the old days, and I want to make some more. So I've been melting this glass into these molds. Since I don't have my stainless steel guy at the moment, I figured out a shape which is freestanding but yet stable. So these are ovals, and let's see, can you see the oval? Yeah, so you can see that it's got a shape that's fairly stable on the bottom. And then I am able to lock my internal imagery in here, and then it tapers as it goes up so that it's very stable to sit there. I mean, we're here in earthquake country, and shortly after I moved in here originally in '89, we had a horrible earthquake where a lot of stuff fell over, not so much for me, but for other people. Brick facades fell off the buildings, wires broke, people were killed. It was a complete disaster. So I like work that's stable. I like it to be able to sit on the floor, sit on the ground, and not have any tendency to go over. So it's kind of limits me to, not making things which are really delicate, but that's my thing, is stability. So we're going to move from my internal life pieces now into the geology. So here are 3 sculptures that I've been working on over time. This is a plaster model for Cinnabar. Cinnabar is the name of this. It comes, I read a book that a friend of mine gave me about the animals' lawsuit against humanity, where it's a 1,000-year-old Middle Eastern tale where the animals take humanity to court for mistreating them. and the judgment's mixed. It's its own morality play. But I thought, what about the minerals? It's like, here we are making glass and doing all this stuff in the world where we're mistreating the mineral aspect of the earth. So here's the mineral representative to court, cinnabar. This was the plaster model that I made, and it's done with Antarctic rock here and ice here. And then I cast it in lead crystal. Ostensibly, this is the lost wax method, but I've discovered that if I don't lose all the wax, it then will patina the glass. So this is lead crystal that has a patina on it from the non-lost wax method. I should find some fancy name for it, but this is glass. This one's glass. And there's another one around the corner, gamage, which you can see better the contrast between the patina and the interior clear glass. So this is Solote, which you saw the picture of in the PowerPoint. And this was the first one that I did. I've done a couple of them out of the same mold. This was that glass that we vitrified. Where was somewhere we have the piece of this that's the original glass that I made for it. Here's one that I'm working on right now. And this is another one that uses all Antarctic glass and ice. I've been calling it Ice Spire for the moment. And one of these days I will finish it and mold it. I haven't yet, but we did do a 3D scan of it. And then this is a cornstarch print. Let's see if it goes like this. So you can see here's the shoulder, and the shoulder got miniaturized slightly, and the quality of the scan is low resolution, so it lacks all the detail, but you see the form. And then that piece I cast into this steel blue nickel cobalt glass. And so that's that top piece there. So, okay, I'm going to show you one more little thing here, and then we'll go into the Geologic Editions. But while I was working on the Colorado Cascade project, I molded some of the rocks. We just found these beautiful rocks up there from that thing. And one of the ways I was going to work was to make these molds of the rock. And then I'm not sure what I expected. I never used these. They sat in the box for a long time. And then I had an idea a few months ago that I could use these and perhaps construct some rock sculptures out of individual rocks, maybe fused together or piled up or something. So I got all enthusiastic about it. We made some new ones with the silicone, and I don't have a wax one, but here are plaster ones that we cast out of those molds. And then the wax pieces got, okay. Open this without getting fried. So in here are 6 or 7 plaster molds from the wax. The wax has been burned out, and the glass is now going down. Oh, it's going down into the molds. Can you see it? It's hot. Mm-hmm. This thing is it's like 1500 degrees Fahrenheit, or 780, almost 800 degrees C right now. Here's glass. We actually dropped one of those panels on the floor, one of the clear panels for the Rainbow Bridge. And so for it not to be a total waste, I'm recycling into those pieces. That's what happens. You know, you make glass sculpture and it breaks. Yep. It's very frustrating. I mean, very frustrating. So this is that gamage piece that I was telling you about. This is one of the lead crystal pieces that I did. And then we polished off the patina from the lead that's there. So you get this contrast between this super beautiful transparency of the lead crystal and this texture of what the lead does. I do not know why it makes black and white. I can't tell you that. I wish I did know, but because then maybe I could control it more. But we've used it and I love it. And then I've made a few various things with, I guess these are both driftwood pieces.
I kind of want to remold this one because I like it the other way better, but it's got a foot on it. So I may come back to this thing. And then over here, why don't you stay there? So except for this one, these are the geologic editions here. It's number 5, 4, 9, 12, and 7. So as I said before, these were color experiments that I did, or not really color experiments because I kind of know how to get these colors. Copper and cobalt, nickel and cobalt. These two are both nickel and cobalt balanced towards the nickel. And then this one is nickel and cobalt balanced towards the cobalt. Nickel and cobalt balanced towards the nickel, nickel and cobalt balanced towards the cobalt. Does it look blue to you? Sometimes this thing doesn't look blue in the photographs. Whenever we take pictures of it with my photographer, it never looks blue. But to my eyes right now, it looks blue. Does it look blue in there?
It looks pretty blue.
Okay. And then this one is just the clear glass. In some ways, I like the clear glass best. It's just so bright. It's so pure. But of course, the colors are fun too. Now, the interesting thing that I've discovered about these is how they layered time. And what happened was that I had some of these on in a show where they were in front of a window where the light was coming in filtered through trees. And you could actually stand here and watch the spots of light move on this thing. And so when that happens, not only do you see kind of a bit of light moving across it, but also these prismatic faces will turn on and turn off as the light goes by. And if there's wind, then it's a kind of a scintillation of moving light on the surface of it. So that's one thing where you can see the movement of the daily light. And then of course, if you watched it all year, that sun is changing in the sky in a yearly pattern. Then you have the sort of daily things about the molding, the glass making, perhaps the road cut where they bulldozed the rock, decades ago. And then you have the formation of the rock and the upthrusting of it into the hills. And then the fact that what was there before, the Earth's face has changed maybe 7 times in the history of the Earth in the 4 billion years that we've been here, or that it's been here. And so it starts to imply this daily movement, to my mind, implies this stepping back into this kind of infinity of time. So I see these as time markers, as layered time pieces, and I'm more fascinated with that even than with the light at the moment.
On the back.
We go. Oh, well, let's talk about this piece here. So this one was one of the test pieces for the Colorado Cascade project, and we've got it in a stand such that you could put another one right next to it, and then the pattern would go through from one to the other. We actually have a couple more. I haven't made the stands yet. Oh, and then back here we have the molds. These are the original molds for the these are the plaster molds that came off the original rubbers. This one here is that Antarctic rock. This one here is actually a piece of rhyolite from the hills, which is another volcanic rock, volcanic rock from the hills up here. And then these are the chert that's layered with shale in between, these small layers of shale. Geologic number 5 is from that vein of shale. It was about a 5 or 6 foot wide, just shale vein. And it was extremely friable. I put the silicone on there and the rock face just completely dissolved. It came right off. And then I picked it out and it actually picked up the pattern, which amazed me. And I love it even more than the layered chert to some extent. So one more thing. Oh, this kiln, it's not on today. It'll be on tomorrow. But here's an oval cylinder that I've got. So tonight or tomorrow I'll fill it
with glass, and then tomorrow it'll be melted. It's not quite there. I was hoping that it would be there today. Not quite. And then let's walk outside. We're done in here, right? For the moment?
Yeah.
Yeah, one more thing, and that's this piece that's outside. That looks funny now. So this project, the Rainbow Bridge, and I showed a brief slide of it in the PowerPoint show at the end, was 7 of these panels with poles between them, 5 by 5 inch steel poles. And I had an 8th one made just because I like it so much, and I wanted to put it out here and have it be for show or for sale, or perhaps as a model for another project. But here's how it looks next to me. You can see the scale and the you know, how the glass works outside, and just how vibrant it is in just nothing, you know, just average everyday light. The piece that's up here in front of this building next door, it works all day and all night. They've got little lights on it at night, and it shines beautifully. At night it glows, and then in the daytime it's very bright, and even the brighter the sunlight, the more it sparkles, the more it and then it's always changing. You can stand there and watch it, and in 20 minutes it's if you have focused on one part of it or another, just because of the angle of the sun has changed, you can see the different facets of it light up.
Hello.
Dark. Okay, well, I think that's more or less it. I think we've got, you want to walk back to the front, and then I'll answer any questions. You can go this way and see various things which are not finished yet. Here's a little piece that I'm working on, this really little. This was a agglomeration of driftwood and rocks. And I'm just trying to figure out a way to combine the texture and the internal coloring in these. And I'm very happy with this one at the moment, but it's not done yet. Okay, so I guess now I can ask you if there are any questions, or somebody wants me to talk about something else, or should we walk to the computer, then I can see them.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hi, David. This is Ron Garcia. I'm the in-house glass sculptor at Judson Studios. I met you there briefly a while back. We have mutual friends in Steve Correa and Narcissus.
Right, great.
How you doing, man? So
all right, good.
They both said I should visit your studio at some point, and I haven't been. Steve went up there and didn't take me. I'm like, how come he didn't take me? But anyway, I just want to thank you and Habatat for doing this. So I got to tour your studio and check out your great work.
Yeah, well, you're welcome to come.
All
I think
right.
it's supposed to come up here in February or March or something.
Yeah, he'll be back from Mexico soon. So
right.
But I guess as just daunting, what a challenge it must be to maintain such an operation. I was wondering if you could speak to that. Thanks again.
Yeah, I have moments, believe me. Sure, then I can see them.
How many of those large kilns do you have? Is there 2 there?
Yeah, I've got an 8 by 10 footer and a 4 by 8 footer, and then I have the vertical kiln.
Sorry.
Okay, we're gonna.
You guys figuring out the audio real quick? While we're sitting here, we here at Habatat are like honored to have David Ruth join our Habatat family, and eager to discuss any thoughts you might have to work with David on any projects. He's probably capable of making your dreams come true. So contact me at the gallery to make those dreams come true. That window was incredible. So just a sample of his talent. David, I'm gonna try to unmute you. It looks like you're muted on the computer. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, we turned off the phone, and so now I'm on the computer.
You were speaking to the size of your kilns.
Right. Well, let's see. Tori, you want to hold this and just show this one here. This one here is about 8 by 10, 8.5 by 10.5 feet on the inside. I've never done a piece that's as big as that is. So I'd like to, but I'm also a little daunted by it because I don't know, I got very enthusiastic about making huge pieces when I started casting glass, and then the risk is so great, and the logistics of it. Like when we make things which are pretty much any taller than me, any bigger than me, I have to make a box just to be able to lift it and turn it over, just to polish the other side to work on it, because it's just too dangerous any other way. We don't have, there are some big suction cup machines where you can turn things. And is that Peter?
It is Peter.
Hey,
He's
wow.
Gonna mute Peter if you want to say hello.
Totally cool.
Hey, David, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you, man.
All right.
Great talk too.
Here, let me open this one. So again, I can't believe that these are both, all three of them don't have anything in them at the moment. Only the, tip it up a little bit this way. Yeah, only the small kilns are in operation right now today, but I'm looking for a project for these. We'll put some things in there. If this little rock project that I've got going in that other kiln works, we'll make a whole bunch of them and put them in here. And then I'm going to put those together, I think, and they might go in one of these kilns as well in you know, the next firing. So
where are you traveling next? Do you have any plans to go make some molds elsewhere?
No. I've got a few invitations out there, but I have no particular plans to do anything right now. I had a show in Switzerland last year, and I need to come back and deal with some after effects of that. And then a friend of mine in Bali wants me to go down there. I'm not sure if they have rock in Bali, but they must have some, right? Kevin Christensen has proposed that we do some rock molding in Thailand as well. And one of the things I was very interested in when I was in Thailand years ago was that there are these temples and shrines where the roots and the Buddha sculptures and the imagery kind of all grow together. And it would be fabulous to either mold that or mold them together or mold them separately and try to see if you could come up with a much more organic thing. But, you know, I don't know. I have no idea.
Gotcha. Well, that's great.
So I've got, you know, I have so much material to work with, even with just the very few molds that I made in Antarctica. I haven't gotten tired of using them. They can be repurposed and turned around, and new ideas and new forms. All they are is textures. And so that they have a great story is wonderful, but as physical objects to make the sculpture, I don't need that many. And so I've got, you know, the ones that I have here, I can continue to repurpose.
Great.
We did, I mean, it was fascinating to go up there and spend a few months molding that one rock face. It's 150 feet long or something. And we took mold after mold after mold. We got hassled by the police and by the conservation groups. And, you know, everybody wanted to know what we were doing, even though it wasn't particularly a public site. It was at the side of a road, but in a place that was just like bulldozed. It wasn't, but they didn't want us painting stuff on their cliffs. It was, that's in that part of town, that's not acceptable.
Gotcha. Well, this was great, David. It's a true honor to visit you right before the holiday season. If anybody has any questions, feel free to speak up. Otherwise, I want to wish you all a wonderful holiday season and a happy new year. And like I said, when David was switching between machines, if you have any ideas to discuss with David, he can make your dreams come true. Look at his talent. It is amazing. His scale and his vision is I envision so many different projects in my head that I'd love to work with you on. So it's a great honor to have you here today join us. So
Great.
thank you again.
Yeah, let's find those people who want to make these dreams into a reality. It's the most gratifying thing when we can take a seed of a core idea and have it manifest itself in a space.
Great. Well, thank you
Great,
again,
yeah,
David.
thank you, Aaron. Very much appreciated. And Habitat Gallery, it's great to see you all. It's wonderful to have old friends come and join me for this. So thank you for showing.
Thank you.
Very inspiring, David. Thank you very much. That was
All right,
beautiful.
you're good. Thank you.
If you're watching this on YouTube, like I said, please subscribe and hit that bell and share. The more people that know about what we know and love, the better. Be well, everybody, and have a great holiday. Great New Year's.
Happy
Bye.
holidays.
Bye.